Sagittarius, this unexpected goodbye will be the seed of your greatest growth. Goodbyes are never easy, Sagittarius. They often arrive when you least expect them, quiet, sudden, and sharp enough to leave you breathless. Perhaps it is the departure of a friend you thought would always walk beside you, the end of a relationship you believed would last, or the closing of a chapter you never imagined would finish. Unexpected goodbyes shake the ground beneath your feet, leaving you wondering how to move forward when so much of what you knew has vanished. And yet, within every goodbye lies a hidden seed. The pain you feel is not just loss. It is the soil in which your greatest growth will take root. For Sagittarius, endings are never truly endings. They are beginnings disguised in sorrow. You are the archer, born to transform heartbreak into wisdom, to turn loss into expansion. This goodbye, though painful, is the very catalyst that will stretch you into the next, more powerful version of yourself. If you are walking through the ache of an unexpected farewell right now, know this: the universe has not abandoned you. It has planted within you the seed of growth, one that will bloom into strength, clarity, and freedom you never imagined. Stay with me, and together let us step into the first gate of this journey, where we uncover the hidden power that lives within endings. Gate 1: the shock and weight of unexpected goodbyes. Sagittarius, your spirit thrives on freedom, adventure, and possibility. Yet even the wildest soul can be shaken by a sudden goodbye. You are ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion, and because of this, you often believe in continuity, in growth that keeps stretching forward without abrupt endings. But life, in its mysterious rhythm, sometimes writes a different script. It removes people, dreams, or circumstances from your path without warning, and the shock leaves you reeling. These are not the endings you planned for, not the ones you prepared to face. They arrive like storms, sudden, uninvited, and powerful. When someone leaves unexpectedly, whether through betrayal, distance, or even death, you are left not only with grief but with unanswered questions. Your Sagittarius mind, ever hungry for meaning, struggles to understand. Why did this happen? What did I miss? Could I have done something differently? You replay conversations, moments, and choices, searching for clarity that never comes. And this lack of closure can feel heavier than the goodbye itself. The silence that follows echoes louder than words could have. It is natural, Sagittarius, to resist this loss. You may distract yourself with motion, throwing yourself into work, into travel, into anything that keeps you from sitting with the ache. Your restless fire seeks escape. Yet no matter how far you run, the grief finds you. Unexpected goodbyes leave imprints, because they do not only remove someone from your life, they shift your story. They change the way you see yourself and the way you see the world. But here lies a hidden truth. The very weight you carry is also the soil in which transformation grows. The shock forces you to pause, to feel, to confront your vulnerability. And though this feels like weakness, it is actually the beginning of strength. Pain cracks the armor you've built, making space for deeper wisdom, compassion, and authenticity to emerge. Consider the Sagittarius woman who lost her partner without warning. One day there, the next gone. The grief was unbearable. She felt stripped of identity, of plans, of safety. For months she resisted, numbing herself with distractions. But eventually, she surrendered to the silence. She sat with her grief, let the tears fall, allowed the ache to move through her. In time, she began to discover resilience she never knew she had. She pursued passions she had once put aside, built friendships that nourished her, and created a life that honored her strength. The goodbye had nearly broken her, yet it also became the seed of her rebirth. Sagittarius, unexpected goodbyes also expose what truly matters. When someone or something leaves suddenly, you realize what you valued most, not in theory but in raw experience. That awareness sharpens your vision for the future. You begin to prioritize differently, to cherish the people and moments that remain, to speak your truth while you can. Loss teaches urgency, reminding you that life is fragile and sacred. And this urgency becomes part of your growth. Another layer of these goodbyes is identity. You may have defined yourself through the presence of a person, a role, or a dream. When it is taken away, you feel stripped bare. Who am I without them? Who am I without this dream? This identity crisis is painful, but it is also liberating. It forces you to discover who you are at your core, beyond roles, beyond attachments, beyond the familiar. And what you find is authenticity, the raw essence of your Sagittarius fire. The seeker, the philosopher, the one who rises even when the arrow has fallen. Yes, Sagittarius, the shock of goodbye hurts. It feels unfair, it feels heavy, it feels like the universe has abandoned you. But the opposite is true. The universe has given you a threshold, a moment of profound growth disguised as loss. Every tear waters the seed of transformation. Every ache stretches your heart wider, making space for wisdom, empathy, and strength that could never have been forged in comfort. At this first gate, do not rush the process. Allow yourself to grieve, to feel the weight, to acknowledge the shock. This is not weakness, it is the soil. And in this soil, though you may not yet see it, the seed of your greatest growth is already planted. The goodbye was unexpected, yes, but its gift will be undeniable. Gate 2, the hidden lessons within loss. Sagittarius, though your fiery soul craves adventure and new horizons, loss has a way of stopping you in your tracks. An unexpected goodbye interrupts your forward motion, forcing you to sit in stillness and face the weight of what has ended. It may feel like punishment, as though the universe has taken something precious without reason. But in truth, within every loss lies a lesson, a gift concealed inside the ache. It is through these hidden teachings that your spirit expands. The first lesson is impermanence. Sagittarius, you live with an open heart, often believing that love, friendship, or opportunity will last forever. You want to trust in continuity, in bonds that are unbreakable. But loss reminds you that life is fluid. Nothing and no one is guaranteed. This truth, though painful, deepens your appreciation for the present moment. You begin to cherish laughter as it happens, to say the words you once held back, to savor experiences without clinging to them. Impermanence is not cruelty. It is urgency, reminding you to live fully now. Another lesson is self-reliance. When someone leaves, you are forced to discover strength within yourself that you may have forgotten. You realize that your identity, though intertwined with others, is not dependent on them. The Sagittarius woman who lost her closest friend learned this painfully. She felt shattered, as though a piece of herself had died too. Yet as months passed, she discovered resilience she never knew existed. She began traveling alone, nurturing passions she had long neglected, and building a deeper relationship with herself. The loss became the catalyst for self-discovery. Goodbyes also teach discernment. Sagittarius, your trusting nature sometimes leaves you vulnerable. You want to see the best in people, even when their actions contradict their words. When someone exits your life abruptly, through betrayal, neglect, or distance, you gain clarity. You learn to notice red flags, to value actions over promises, to protect your energy more carefully. This discernment does not harden your heart. It refines it. It allows you to give generously without being blind, to love deeply without abandoning your boundaries. There is also the lesson of surrender. Sagittarius, you like to believe you can control outcomes if only you try hard enough. But an unexpected goodbye strips you of control. You cannot force someone to stay, cannot rewind time, cannot hold on to what is already gone. This helplessness feels unbearable at first, but in time it teaches you surrender, the ability to release what is beyond your grasp and trust the flow of life. Surrender does not mean giving up. It means aligning with reality, flowing with the river instead of fighting against its current. And in that surrender you find peace. Loss also awakens empathy. Until you have walked through the valley of grief yourself, you cannot fully understand its weight. But once you have felt it, you recognize it in others. You notice the quiet sadness in a friend's eyes, the heaviness behind a stranger's smile. Your heart softens. You listen more deeply, love more gently, and offer comfort without judgment. In this way, your own heartbreak becomes a bridge to the healing of others. Perhaps the most profound lesson hidden in goodbyes is the reminder of your own resilience. Sagittarius, you may not realize how strong you are until you are forced to rise after a fall. The goodbye that once felt like it would break you instead becomes proof of your ability to endure. Each day you survive, each tear that eventually dries, each laugh that returns unexpectedly. These are markers of growth. You see that endings do not destroy you, they transform you. And in that realization, your confidence deepens. You begin to trust not only the universe but also yourself. Consider the Sagittarius man who was abandoned by a business partner he trusted. Overnight, years of effort collapsed. At first he felt betrayed, humiliated, and lost. But as time passed, he rebuilt. The lessons he learned about trust, about strategy, about resilience became the foundation of something greater. What he lost in one chapter became the wisdom that fueled the next. The unexpected goodbye was not the end. It was the seed of expansion. Sagittarius, every loss carries these hidden lessons. Impermanence, self-reliance, discernment, surrender, empathy, resilience. They are not punishments but initiations. They strip away illusions and prepare you for the sacred beginning that waits beyond the ending. Without the goodbye, you might have remained asleep, clinging to comfort or compromise. With it, you awaken. You grow. At the second gate, you are invited to look at your own losses differently. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "What is this here to teach me?" Instead of seeing emptiness, look for seeds. For every goodbye you have endured has carried within it the blueprint of your growth. You may not have seen it then, but in hindsight you will recognize it. And in recognizing it, you will understand. The universe has never abandoned you. It has only ever prepared you. Gate 3: Transformation through the pain. Sagittarius, the pain of an unexpected goodbye is undeniable. It cuts deeply because it was not chosen, not prepared for, not softened by time. Yet, as heavy as it feels, pain is never the final word. For a soul like yours, pain is a forge, a sacred fire that reshapes you into a stronger, wiser, more expansive version of yourself. You are ruled by Jupiter, planet of growth, and growth rarely comes through comfort. It is often through the sharp edge of loss that your spirit expands. Pain transforms you by forcing you to confront what you once avoided. You may have distracted yourself with constant motion, with dreams of the future, with endless giving to others. But loss stops you. It demands stillness. It makes you sit with yourself. In that stillness, truths you ignored begin to surface. You realize what truly matters to you. You see where you have compromised too much, silenced yourself too often, or neglected your own needs. Pain holds up a mirror, and though the reflection may sting, it also awakens you. There is also the transformation of priorities. After a painful goodbye, the things that once consumed you often lose their grip. Petty worries, shallow pursuits, superficial connections, they no longer hold weight. Your heart, having been cracked open, longs for depth, for authenticity, for connection that matters. This is why so many Sagittarians, after heartbreak, turn to new callings. Spiritual exploration, creative expression, or adventures that feed the soul rather than the ego. The pain reorients you toward what is real. Consider the Sagittarius woman who lost her mother suddenly. The grief was overwhelming. At first, she drowned in sorrow, believing life had lost its color. But as months passed, she began to notice shifts within herself. She no longer wasted time on trivial conflicts or hollow ambitions. Instead, she pursued what brought her joy, honoring her mother's memory by living fully. She traveled, created, and loved more deeply than before. The pain of goodbye transformed her life, guiding her toward authenticity. Sagittarius transformation also happens through vulnerability. Pain softens your armor, allowing you to feel more deeply. You may try to resist it, to appear strong, to convince yourself you are fine. But true strength is not denial. It is the courage to feel fully. Vulnerability connects you to others in profound ways. When you share your story of loss, others see themselves in you. They are comforted, inspired, healed by your openness. In this way, your pain becomes not just your transformation but also a gift to the world. Another transformation that emerges from pain is resilience. Before the goodbye, you may have feared that losing someone or something would destroy you. But after walking through the fire, you realize you are still standing. You have survived nights you thought would never end. You have found laughter again when you thought it impossible. Each moment of survival builds resilience, a quiet confidence that you can face whatever comes next. This resilience is not arrogance. It is trust, both in yourself and in the universe. Sagittarius, pain also transforms your relationship with love. When you lose someone you love, it may feel like your capacity for love has died with them. But in truth, loss deepens your ability to love. You learn to love more consciously, more tenderly, more gratefully. You no longer take people for granted. You cherish the small moments, the sound of laughter, the warmth of presence, the beauty of simply being together. Pain teaches you that love is not about possession but about presence, and that love, once given, never truly disappears. There is also the transformation of courage. Pain strips away illusions and leaves you raw. And in that rawness you often find a bravery you didn't know you had. You dare to speak truths you once swallowed. You take risks you once avoided. You step into horizons you once feared. The Sagittarius man who lost his dream job unexpectedly found himself terrified of starting over. Yet that very fear pushed him into entrepreneurship, where he discovered freedom and fulfillment he never imagined. The goodbye that broke him also revealed his courage. Sagittarius transformation through pain is not immediate. It unfolds slowly like dawn after a long night. Some days you will feel strong, others fragile. But trust that the process is working. Each tear waters the soil of growth. Each ache expands your heart. Each moment of survival strengthens your wings. And though you may not see it yet, the pain that feels unbearable today will one day become the source of your wisdom, your compassion, your strength. At this third gate, embrace the truth that pain is not your enemy. It is your teacher, your sculptor, your initiator. It is the fire that tempers your soul, shaping you into the warrior philosopher you were always meant to be. And as you allow pain to transform you, you prepare for the sacred beginning that waits beyond. The new chapter of growth and freedom that could only be born through goodbye. Gate 4, the sacred beginning that follows the goodbye. Sagittarius, endings and beginnings are two sides of the same coin. Where one chapter closes, another quietly opens. Yet the doorway to a sacred beginning often remains hidden until you have walked through the valley of goodbye. The silence, the emptiness, the grief. All of these create the space where something new can be planted. And when that seed begins to bloom, you realize that the pain you endured was not in vain. It was preparation. Sacred beginnings rarely arrive with fanfare. They do not knock loudly at your door, demanding attention. Instead, they emerge softly, like the first rays of dawn after a long night. At first, you may not even recognize them. A new friendship forms and you think it's coincidence. A new idea stirs and you dismiss it as unrealistic. A new sense of peace settles in your chest, and you mistake it for mere relief. But over time you see that these are not small things. They are the shoots of a new life, rising quietly from the soil of your loss. Sagittarius, your nature is to seek expansion. And sacred beginnings always bring expansion. They stretch you beyond what you thought possible. They introduce you to people who reflect your authentic self, to opportunities that align with your true purpose, to experiences that nourish your fire rather than drain it. The goodbye that once felt like death becomes the very birth of your rebirth. Consider the Sagittarius woman who was abandoned by a partner without warning. For months she believed her world had ended. But slowly, a sacred beginning emerged. She rediscovered passions she had buried, began a career she had once been too afraid to pursue, and built a community of friends who celebrated her spirit. Years later, she realized the unexpected goodbye had been the universe's way of redirecting her toward the life she was always meant to live. Sacred beginnings are also deeply personal. They are not always about external changes like careers or relationships. Sometimes they unfold within you. Perhaps the goodbye stripped away your illusions, leaving behind authenticity. Perhaps it ended a cycle of self-abandonment, allowing you to finally choose yourself. Perhaps it dismantled an identity built on others' approval, so you could step into your truth. These inner beginnings are no less miraculous. They change how you walk through the world, how you love, how you dream. Sagittarius, another sign of sacred beginnings is synchronicity. Once you have released the past, the universe begins to align new paths with precision. A chance encounter becomes a doorway. A conversation sparks inspiration. A rejection redirects you into an opportunity you didn't know you needed. These alignments are not accidents. They are the universe's way of affirming you are on the right path. The ending has fulfilled its purpose, and the beginning is here. What makes a beginning sacred is not just its arrival but its resonance. You feel it in your heart, deep and undeniable. Even if fear whispers doubts, something within you knows this is right. Sacred beginnings carry peace even in uncertainty, joy even in small steps, and courage even in risk. They call to your Sagittarius spirit with the promise of freedom, truth, and expansion, the very essence of who you are. To fully embrace a sacred beginning, you must release the temptation to cling to the past. It is natural to compare, to wonder if the new will ever match what was lost. But beginnings are not meant to replicate. They are meant to evolve. What you lost prepared you for what you are now receiving. Trust the process. Trust that the universe does not take without giving, does not close a door without opening another. Consider the Sagittarius man who lost his dream job suddenly. At first, he felt humiliated, as though his purpose had been ripped away. But in the silence that followed, a new idea emerged. He began building something of his own, small at first, then steadily growing. Years later, he looked back and realized that the loss had been the greatest gift. It had forced him into a sacred beginning he would never have chosen, but one that expanded him beyond what he thought possible. Sagittarius, the unexpected goodbye you faced is not the end of your story. It is the prologue of your rebirth. The seed has already been planted, and though growth takes time, it is inevitable. You are stepping into a chapter of greater authenticity, deeper love, and wider horizons. The sacred beginning is not waiting in the distance. It is already here, quietly unfolding in ways you may not yet fully see. At this fourth gate, you are invited to embrace this truth. Endings are not punishments but passages. Goodbyes are not abandonment but redirection. What feels like loss is often the universe's way of clearing the way for miracles. And this sacred beginning born from your pain will not only heal you, it will grow you into the fullest, brightest version of yourself. The gift hidden in goodbye. Sagittarius, your journey through endings and beginnings reveals a truth that is both painful and beautiful. The goodbye you never wanted has been the very soil where your growth has taken root. What once felt like loss, betrayal, or abandonment has become the catalyst for your expansion. You are not the same soul you were before. You are wiser, stronger, more compassionate, and more aligned with your true path. The pain of unexpected farewells may never fully vanish, but it transforms. It becomes a reminder of your resilience, of your ability to rise when you thought you could not, of your courage to keep walking when the road felt empty. And as you look back, you see that every ending was also a beginning, that the silence you feared was actually the quiet of seeds sprouting beneath the surface. So lift your head, Sagittarius. Trust the timing of your life. Believe that the universe does not take without purpose, and that what leaves always makes space for what is sacred to arrive. The goodbye you endured was not the end of your story. It was the chapter that birthed your greatest becoming. If these words have touched your heart, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe, so that more Sagittarians can discover the hidden gifts within their own goodbyes. Because the truth is simple yet profound. What ends in silence today may bloom into the most miraculous growth of your life tomorrow.